push it that way because then it doesn't work. It blows into the... Morning, everybody. Welcome to Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We're really glad that you're here today. My name is Douglas Futch. I'm a member of the Emerson Choir, the Choir Leadership Committee, the membership team. I'm a certified OWL instructor. I'm on the worship team, and I serve as your vice president on the board of trustees. But today I'll be your worship associate, which is the most fun of all of those. I offer a special welcome to those of you joining us for the first time, either in person or online. We're grateful you're here, and we look forward to getting to know you better. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of each and every person through anti-racism, anti-oppression, support for the LGBTQ+ communities, working for reproductive justice, voting rights, and other issues, as the world calls us to side with love. We seek to build a beloved community not only here but in our surrounding area. If you're viewing online, we hope to see you soon in the future. For everyone here in person, you're invited to join us for social time following the service for light refreshments in our fellowship hall behind the sanctuary. Then at 11:25, please join us for religious exploration and small group activities. Alex will lead worship reflections here in the sanctuary, and there are additional offerings in your order of service. Now, Theo Douglas will help me light the chalice. As we pause to light the chalice as a symbol of our Unitarian Universalism faith. Today's quote is by Lisa TerKeurst. People who care more about being right than ending right prove just how wrong they were all along. Thank you, Theo. Now, in the spirit of love and beloved community, let's greet and welcome each other to this new day as we share our congregational affirmation. We need not think alike, to love alike. Please greet your neighbor. Those in the sanctuary, feel free to move around, and those online, please unmute the chat and introduce yourself to say hello. It's like we haven't seen each other all summer long. Everybody's just visiting. Today, our Summer Voices of Emerson series concludes as we hear from our own Alex Douglas. Alex grew up in Norcross, just 30 minutes east of here, as one of 10 children. He was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, better known as the Mormon Church, and it was a Mormon congregation in Boston where he met his wife, Celeste. They now have 3 beautiful children who love being a part of Emerson's RE program. To pay the bills, Alex teaches high school at Lovett, where he enjoys tormenting kids with excessive homework and impossible tests. When they're not working or parenting, Alex and Celeste are also avid board gamers. So please welcome Alex. Alex's message today is called Being Wrong. When I read the summary of his talk, I remembered hearing as a young child my mother telling me stories of growing up in the 1950s in a white-only world. Once I asked her why she thought it was okay. She told me that was all she ever knew, so it seemed normal. Until one day she read a novel called 5 Smooth Stones by Anne Fairburn. The book tells us the life story of a fictional black man named David. Early in the story, David was traveling on a bus with his grandfather. They stopped at a bus station for a break, and David had to go to the bathroom, but the bathrooms at the station were for whites only. David ended up wetting his pants before his grandfather could find a place for him to go. My mother cried and cried as she read that story, and she cried every time she told it to anyone afterwards for the rest of her life. She realized at that moment how wrong it was to think that white only was okay. Keeping your heart open to learning new truths is part of what being wrong is all about. Now, if you please rise in body or voice and join us together as we sing hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit.
Witness the mystery. gathered in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in awe, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
Now we pause to reflect on matters of the heart. Ollie Tomic will help me with the stones today. For this morning's ritual, we have water and we have river stones. The stones are smooth and the stones have weight. They're indicative of both life's pleasures and times of ease, as well as life's burdens and times of heaviness. The water receives these stones with ease and calmness. Each week, you're invited to write a joy, sorrow, or concern in this book, or to email it to pastoralcare@emersonuu.org to be read. If you're online, we invite you to recreate this ritual at home. You place a stone in a bowl of water to honor what is in your heart. Today, we begin by placing 3 stones. The first in honor of the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of indigenous peoples who lived here before us. The second for those wrongly enslaved here who labored upon this land. And the third for all those hurting in current conflicts across our globe. Then today we have lots of joys and sorrows in our book. The first from J. Johns. I was climbing a tree recently and I fell. I was left hanging upside down by 1 foot. My dad came to the rescue. I was okay, but was left scared. So I don't blame you, Jay. I'd be upset if I was upside down in a tree, too. From March Price. My dear husband, Jay Huey, is in the Wellstar Kennestone Hospital for congestive heart failure complications. Your prayers and or good wishes for his recovery will be most appreciated. Love to all from the 2 of us. From Patricia Johnson, today is my sweet Zephaniah's 29th birthday. Amazing. Yay. And from Kathy Middleman, what a joy to begin the day yesterday when my husband surprised me with the Sunrise Hot Air Balloon Ride to celebrate our 30th anniversary. May the adventure continue. Yay. How exciting was that? Let me make sure there's nothing on the next page. Nope, we're good. That sounds like fun. Maybe we should all try that. There's a good activity for the activities committee, y'all. I can see Bernadine thinking she'd be right in there on that balloon. Okay. So now, Ann, I'll let you. Oh, wait, I have to finish this. Hold the phone. In thankful awareness, let us say the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. Please read the words with me that are printed in the order of service. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May we all be free from harm and suffering. May we all be well in body, heart, and mind. May we all be at peace. Blessed be. All right, now.
Good morning. My name is Ann Mason, and I am a member of the Social Justice Leadership Team. Unitarian Universal, and some other things. Unitarian Universalism is a faith often referred to as one of deeds and not creeds. It is how we show up and live our lives in the world that we live our faith. One way we seek to do this is by partnering with other organizations who work to bring love, kindness, and justice to the world. Each Sunday, we collect financial contributions, which are shared equally with our partner organizations. Our Share the Basket partner for August is the Extension. It is located in Marietta and serves adults who are successfully dealing with substance use and abuse challenges, and who are experiencing homelessness in Cobb County. Through the Extension's unique process, residents gain skills they need to recover and to lead healthy, productive lives. Emerson's own Tyler Driver is the Extension's executive director and would welcome your support through donations and volunteer contributions. We have Mark. We raised money for them last year to buy drums, and Mark continues to lead a drumming circle on Friday nights at the Extension. The women's campus of the Extension was recently closed for some time after the sprinklers burst. The organization was forced to move the women into apartments while the interior of the buildings was entirely gutted and rebuilt. The women's campus just recently reopened. The money we raised this month will go to help the residents set up a gym and exercise room. To learn more about the Extension, please see the poster that's in the narthex and the display and newsletters, here's the latest one, in the Justice Room. For those in the sanctuary, as the basket is passed, please feel free to offer a donation or see in your order of service other ways to give. For those online, go to emersonuu.org, select the Giving tab to donate. All donations, unless otherwise specified, are shared equally between Emerson and our partner organization, and the collection will now be gratefully received.
I guess I'm here and I'm on. I wasn't expecting that. All right, can I have the young and the young at heart come up here and join me and Emery? We're gonna get him. There we go. All right, today we're going to do something a little different. Everybody's used to having the pictures from the story up on the screen, but with today's story, we're not going to be able to do that. So here's why. Some of you may know this story. It's called, What Should Danny Do? And you get to make choices on where the story goes. So we will do this by majority vote. I will give you two options at different places in the story, and whoever raises their hand for whichever one you want to vote for, and the one that has the most votes will go that direction. All right? All right, and I'll show you the pictures as we go, kind of like we used to in the old days. Hi, my name is Danny. My favorite things in the world are soccer, superheroes, and ninjas. I also love skateboards, but I don't have one yet. You may be wondering why I'm wearing a cape, so I'll let you in on my secret. I'm a superhero in training. That means I have some superpowers, but I'm still working on the rest. For example, I jump super high. I run super fast. I have super muscles. Who has super muscles here? Yeah, there we go, right? See, you're already like Danny. And even though I can't fly just yet, I'm still working on it. Daddy says that my most important superpower of all is my power to choose. With this power, I can change my day by changing my choices. He even gives me the coolest cape so that I won't forget. Today is a special day because you will be making choices for me. When you get to the end of the day, you can start over and make different choices. Then we'll see if the power to choose really does change my day. Ready? Let's go. Do I smell pancakes? I love pancakes. I zoom downstairs, chocolate chip pancakes. But then I see my brother Charlie eating from our ninjutsu ninja plate. That plate is my favorite. I want the ninja plate, I say. I know you love that plate, Mommy says, but Charlie is already eating from it. She puts 2 pancakes in front of me, but they're on an alphabet plate. I already know my alphabet. Okay, so what should Danny do? Choice number 1, eat the pancakes on the alphabet plate, or yell until he gets the ninja plate. All right, so who says he should eat them? Raise your hand if you eat them. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3. Okay, who says he should yell? Okay, I guess that's the winner. We're going yelling. Okay, remember, you can go back and make different choices, people. I yell, I stamp, I scream, no fair! I want the ninja plate, I say. It isn't helping. I push the alphabet plate away from me. My super muscles are so strong that the plate zooms into the pitcher of orange juice. Whoops. It spills everywhere. Orange juice on the table, orange juice on the floor, orange juice on my pancakes. Yuck. Mommy hands me a towel. Great. Now my pancakes are ruined and I have to clean up the mess. Wiping up the juice takes forever, and now I'm stuck with cereal. Cereal does not charge my super muscles like pancakes do. I finish eating and see Charlie playing with our new race car set. I wanted the race cars. Charlie licks his fingers loudly with a smirk on his face. I think he's making fun of me for not getting pancakes. What should Danny do? Knock the race car set down or find a way to play with Charlie? How many say knock it down?
No.
We've got 3. How many say find a way to play? Okay, we're getting the choice thing down. That's a better choice thing. All right, got to go there. Liking that. I'm bothered by Charlie's teasing, but I let it go because it's not a big deal. After all, I was the one who ruined my pancakes. You're lucky you got pancakes, I say. Do you want to build a quadruple loop crash track together? Charlie thinks, then says, yeah. Together we build the coolest track ever. 1, 2, 3. We both let go of our race cars at the same time. Smash, crash. The cars crash mid-air. We test them all. Blue Lightning Bolt and Red Rocket Racer are the fastest. We crash them 100 times. It's a pretty good lesson in physics there. Mommy comes into the living room and tells us to get dressed because we're going to the park. Score! I love the park. But when Charlie comes back, I see that he has brand new shoes. How did you get those? I asked. Mom got them for me because my old ones had a hole. He answers, no fair. I want new shoes too. What should Danny do? Yell at his mom for not buying him new shoes? Or tell Charlie how cool his new shoes are? Okay, who goes for the yelling? We've got 1. All right, tell Charlie how cool his new shoes are. All right, boy, gosh, you guys are good. Because I'll tell you a little secret. When I was doing this at home, I chose all the bad ones just to see what happened. And I'm going to tell you, it's not pretty at the end for Danny. I'm a little jealous, but I understand that Charlie needed new shoes more than I did. Your new shoes are awesome, I tell him. That was really sweet of you, Danny, Mommy says. She reminds us to clean up the race car set so that we can go back to the park. Well, then I get to that page. We're not quite done with his day yet. We quickly clean up and then go to the park. I use my super speed to zoom around. Whoosh! Then I hear my favorite music in the world. I know exactly where it's coming from. Can we please have some ice cream, Mommy? I beg. Sure, she says. Score. I chose my favorite, an ice cream sandwich. Charlie chooses a rainbow snow cone. I tell him to eat quickly so that we can go play soccer. He pushes his cone up to take a bite, and it slips out and falls in the mud. Oh, Charlie starts to cry. What should Danny do? Eat his ice cream quickly before Charlie can ask for some? Or share some ice cream with Charlie? So who says eat it quick? Oh, I might have had some influence there. Who says to share? No, not quite enough. All right, we got to go do the bad thing. All right. I eat my ice cream sandwich so fast that I get brain freeze. Oh, man, I hate brain freeze. Last time I had one, my superpowers froze for a whole hour. Mommy saw what happened, so she buys Charlie a new snow cone. When he finally finishes, we argue because neither of us wants to be goalie first. We end up playing by ourselves, and that isn't very fun. Scoring goals without a goalie is too easy for a superhero like me. On the ride home, Charlie and I are still upset and hardly say a word to each other. At dinner, Daddy asks if I had a good day. Not really, I say. Do you think you used your powers to choose wisely, he asked. Maybe if I practiced my powers to choose as much as I practice flying, my days really would be better. And that's the end of that adventure. So, you want to go back and do another? We would do another if we had time. But this book will be in the library, so you can check it out. Your mom and dad can check it out in the RE library right back there. But what you need to remember is that you all have the superpower to choose how your day goes, right? And we'll make good choices. All right, shall we sing our song of dedication?
Michael always loves to be in the spotlight. And now we get to hear from our own Bruce King performing his original composition, Something Else.
Thank you, Douglas. So I wrote this song over a long period of time, and it's referring to a lot of conflict. So as you listen to me sing the song, try not to get caught up in the I and you. It can sound like an interpersonal relationship, but I also wrote it with the bigger you, the collective you, and the collective I. So this is called Something Else. So is this the way it's gotta be for you and me? Or could it be something else? Does it have to be somebody's wrong? Now it's gone, gotta throw it away. Could it be that you were right, I've been wrong all along, wasting time? That you should tell me the way to behave, be a slave to your mind. I'm finding it hard to see a way to be okay with the issues at hand. You speak of a love from above, then you shove, acting so grand. Could it be that you and me only meet in the new morning light? Just for a moment, a mingle of new day and silent nights. I'm beginning to see that we are like a breeze flowing over the ground. I heat up the air, you are cool over there, pushing me all around. Is it our purpose to clash, thunder crash, pour that cold rain on down? Maker of storms is our norm, we just can't seem to help ourselves. Help ourselves. Help ourselves. We're part of a whole, you and me. I won't believe that you don't see it too. There is none of me, just can't be without the balance of you. So is this the way it's gotta be for you and me? Or could it be something else?
Thank you, Bruce. That was amazing. That's a tough act to follow. So when as those of you who don't know me, my name's Alex. When I was growing up, I found that school came pretty easily to me. The grades, standardized tests, I did fairly well on those things. And so what happened was, over the course of my time through school, I got this message over and over and over again that I was smart. And I loved that message. It was great. And it came to the point where I really internalized it. I came to think, you know what? I am pretty smart. In fact, I got called arrogant on numerous occasions. And the reality is that I was pretty arrogant. I probably still am, but it's easier to see in the past. But I thought to myself, well, look, any major issue, I've thought through this. And if I've thought through it, and by the way, I'm pretty smart, then I probably came to the right answer. And so if you have a different answer than I do, you're probably either don't know all the facts or you're just not as smart as I am. And so let me just walk you through some of the things that I had really thought through as a kid. And I say kid, I mean like high school, college age. I was convinced that vegetarians were crazy. And now part of this was due to the fact that I thought vegetarianism meant eating carrot sticks and celery. That's sort of what I thought vegetarianism was. And so I thought, why would anyone ever do that? So that just seemed horrible, like a terrible life choice to me. I also was fairly conservative. I was a proud member of the Republican Party. I thought I aligned very much with a lot of conservative issues. They really spoke to me, and I thought this is who I am. I was Mormon, and not just like, I went to church because I had to. I spent 2 years as a missionary preaching the gospel. Seminary every day before high school started. Classes in college. I was a true believer in Mormonism. I also believed some other things that I'm not quite as proud of. So, for example, I used to believe that same-sex marriage was bad. That not just bad, but dangerous. That if we allowed same-sex marriage in the United States, that it would somehow weaken the moral foundations of our society, and that was not okay. I believe that discrimination wasn't real. Like, look, sure, slavery happened, but that was centuries ago. We have moved well beyond that. And here's the thing, for all of the ways that I thought I was so smart, for all the ways I thought I had figured everything out, I now believe on every one of those issues, I now believe the exact opposite. And those issues are not tangential issues. Those aren't small things. Religion, politics, those are like central to who I was as a person. And yet, on every one of those, I came to find out that I was wrong. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, about being wrong. Now, some of those changes were a natural part of growing up. For example, it's not uncommon for people to go to college as they're exposed to new ideas to embrace some more liberal things. So again, part of this is part of growing up, but a lot of this change was more recent. So for example, I ate meat all the way up until I read a book called Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. And as I read that book, I really came to question how could I support the factory farming that happens today. And from that point on, I decided I was going to be vegetarian. I was a card-carrying member of the Mormon Church up until about 3 years ago. If you look at just 2 years ago, I was working at a private school, and I came to decide that, I can't do this anymore. I can't be part of a school system that is here to help the rich stay rich. That the whole purpose of this is to help those who are already ahead in life to get a further leg up on everyone else. And so I quit and decided to go to the public school system. So here's what I've come to discover, that I'm just good at being wrong. It's who I am. And I'm just grateful that Celeste isn't here right now to hear me say that, because she would never let me forget it. But it really is. It's who I am. But I think that I'm not alone. I think that all of us have had similar experiences of things that we've thought, things that we believe, that we come at some point to look back on and say, you know what, maybe that wasn't right. So here's what I want to do. I want you all to take a moment and think back to yourselves 10 years ago. So just think about 10 years ago, what are the things that you believed? What are the things that you thought were true that you now no longer do? And I'm going to give you actually like a few moments of silence because I want you to think about this. I want you to actually list them out in your mind. What are the things that you believed 10 years ago that you no longer do? They can be things you were factually wrong about. So as one example, in 2016, I was convinced that Clinton was going to win the election. I was wrong. So they can be factual things, or they can be things that are closer to who you are. But I want you to take a few moments right now and think, what in the past 10 years have you been wrong about? One of the central ideas in Mormonism and in Christianity writ large is the idea of repentance. And in Mormonism, they have a really unique take on how this works. The idea is that there are eternal laws out there, and that when these laws are broken, there are consequences that we suffer as a result. And some people think of these consequences as being punishments. So, for example, if you steal something, you might go to jail. But some people think of these consequences as being the natural reaction or the natural consequence of what you've done. So if I steal something, the consequence of that is that I am a thief. If I murder someone, that leaves an impact on my soul, on who I am. If I strike out at someone, it changes me, and I become the kind of person who in the future is more likely to strike out at those around me. Now, you can take or leave the theology behind this, but there's clearly something here, something true at the heart of this idea, that our actions impact who we are, and that who we are is in some sense a culmination of the things that we have done and the things that we have believed up until this point in our lives. But in Mormon theology, when any law is broken, there are two options that we can take. On the one hand, we can suffer those consequences ourselves. So we can take the prison sentence, we can take the change to our personality, or we can repent. We can ask that we not suffer those consequences and have Jesus suffer those consequences for us. And in Mormon theology, the idea is that on the cross, that's what Jesus did, that he took upon himself the consequences of our wrong actions and gave us the chance to start over and become new. Now, I no longer believe in the theology behind this idea, but I do love the concept. I love the idea that we all can make that choice, that we can change who we are and start over, that we don't have to be the culmination of the things we have done and things we have thought in the past. In fact, in the New Testament, which is written in Greek, the Greek word for repentance is metanoia, which means a change of mind or a change of heart. And I believe this is one of the most beautiful concepts that Christianity has given the world, that we can change our mind and change our heart and become new people. Now, I realize today what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you all to repentance. And I know that some of you, there's a lot of religious PTSD in this room, and so I want you to, bear with me for just a moment, but I want to invite you to repentance in two different ways. And the first way that I want you to think about it is repentance for who we have been in the past. That no matter what you've done, no matter what you've believed in the past, in this church, we believe that as you change your mind, you become a new person, that you can start with a clean slate. After all, our mantra is, this is the church of the open mind, that we need not be held back by who we were in the past. So let me share a story with you, one that I am, in all honesty, hesitant to share, but one that I think is important for illustrating this idea. When I was in high school and into college, I used to use the word gay as a kind of swear word, as a slur. And it never even occurred to me that that was a bad thing. And I did that all the way up until, and I vividly remember this moment, when I was in college. And I was in a friend's dorm room, and we were playing cards, and he played a card that was going to make me lose that hand. And I almost said it. I was so close. But thankfully, I stopped myself because I realized that sitting across from me was a student who was gay. And it was the first time that it really struck me that my words are not just words, that I had the ability to make someone's journey through life more difficult or easier based on the things that I said, that the things I said can have a major impact on what that person's journey was like. Now, I tell you this story. I'm okay telling you this story, because to use this religious term, I have repented of that. My heart has changed, and I am no longer that person that I once was. And I'm okay telling this story because this is the church of the open mind. Because I know that you all, that if you had seen me back then, 20 years ago, that you would have called me out. And I'm glad that you would have. But I also know that you see me for who I am today, not for the stupid things I've done over the course of my life, because I've done a lot of really stupid things. And I know, some of you are like, yeah, no joke. And those of you who know me well. But if you all are okay extending that grace to me, I hope that we all can be okay extending that grace to each other. I hope that we all know that no matter what you have done, no matter what you believe, no matter what your heart or your mind was like 20 years ago, no matter what it was like yesterday, it's okay to be wrong. That we in this church believe that you are who you are, that we are the culmination of who we have been in the past, but we are not merely the culmination of the things we have done and believed in the past. And so the second sense in which I want to ask you all to think about repentance is not only for the sense of who you were in the past, but in the future. Now, I asked you all to think about the things you have believed over the past 10 years that you have been wrong about. And here's my question. I want you to raise your hand. I don't want you to share what you're wrong about, but I want you to raise your hand if you thought of something that was fairly insubstantial. Like, I've been wrong about who did the dishes last, or whatever it may be. I want you to raise your hand if you were wrong, if you thought of something that you were wrong that was something, again, fairly insubstantial. Oh, thank you for those of you who are honest. The rest of you, I look forward to your apologies after the sermon is over. All right, now, I want you to raise your hand if you also thought of something more substantial, something major that you have changed over the last 10 years. Amazing. Looking around, almost every person has their hand up. So here's the question. If you have been wrong over the last 10 years, and if you're anything like me, and again, I've been wrong over and over and over and over again up until today, the question is, do you now have it all right? Do you think that in 10 years from now, you will look back on what you believed at this very moment and say, you know what? I really had it all figured out. Or will you look back and realize there are some things that I have since learned are not quite who I want to be? And so I want you to think about how we change that. How do we go from where we are right now to where we're going to be? Because what does it feel like to be wrong? And that's not a rhetorical question. I want you to answer. I want to know, what does it feel like to be wrong? Anyone, what does it feel like when you're wrong? Yes?
It's just like a happy joy to know that you're wrong.
Okay, you are a better person than I am. I love that. Yeah, so we've got a happy joy. I love it. Yes. Embarrassing. Anything else? Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay, all right, done. Anything else? Shameful. Yes. Sad. Yeah. Defensive. Yeah, exactly. Although here, oh, yeah, one more. Yeah. Yeah, just like dig down in a hole and hide. But here's the thing. You all have not been describing what it feels like to be wrong. You've been describing what it feels like to realize that you're wrong. Because it turns out that being wrong feels a lot like being right. In fact, it feels exactly the same. And so the question then becomes, how do we change? If that's true, if it does feel exactly the same, how do we recognize when we're wrong? How do we embrace an intellectual humility to know that I may actually not have it all figured out? And so I want to explain a quick experiment, and then Josh, if you wouldn't mind putting the first picture up. Back in the 1960s, some of you may be familiar with this experiment. A man named Stanley Milgram ran an experiment trying to figure out what is it that made the Holocaust happen, that made seemingly normal people do terrible, terrible things. And so we set up this experiment to try and understand it. And the way the experiment worked is that you had the experimenter, the leader of the experiment, who was the guy running things, the guy in the white coat. You had a teacher who was a random person off the street as part of the experiment. And then you had a learner who was an actor. He was acting as if he were part of the experiment too, as if he were a random guy off the street. But in reality, he wasn't. I mean, he was in on the whole thing. And the way it worked is the experimenter told the teacher, we are in this experiment going to try and figure out how punishment impacts learning. And so the learner is going to try and memorize some things, and they're going to tell you what they've memorized, and when they get something wrong, you, teacher, are going to give them a shock. And they're going to start at 45 volts of electricity, which is it's uncomfortable, but not terrible. And with every subsequent mistake, I want you to increase the intensity of that shock. And the machine went all the way up to 450 volts, which is a lethal level of shock. To put that in perspective, that's about 4 times what we get out of our electrical outlets in the United States. And the thought was they were trying to understand what would make a person, or how far would you go when you're asked to do something that is morally wrong? And at what point would people stop and say, no, I will not do this? And the results were something that no one had expected. Because it turns out that over 60% of the people in this experiment went all the way to 450 volts of electricity, giving someone lethal levels of shock just because a guy in a white coat told them to do so. Now, the person who was the actor wasn't actually being shocked. They were on the other side of the wall, and they were pretending, right? So they put the shock in, they yell out like, please stop. And the experimenter was often uncomfortable. The person in the experiment was often uncomfortable. They'd say, can I stop? Is this okay? And the experimenter would say, no, you need to continue. And with just that, they got someone to go all the way to 450 volts. Now, the reason that I tell this story is because the way that the machine was set up, it turns out, made a huge difference. And then, Josh, if you could show the second picture. This is a picture of the actual machine that was used, and you'll notice there are a lot of gradations. It does not go from 45 volts to 200 to 450. Instead, it goes from 45 to 60 to 75. It goes up a little bit at a time. Because if they had asked someone, if they had started at 45 volts, and let's imagine there were only 3 options. You've got 45, 200, and 450. If you started at 45 volts and said, okay, give that person a shock, now give them 200, it's very easy at that point to say no. To say, look, I was okay giving them 45, that's uncomfortable, but 200, this is borderline dangerous, I will not do that. And if there had only been 3 options, it would have been really hard to get almost anyone to do it. But instead, as it went gradually, it led people along. And if you've just given someone 195 volts, it's really hard to say, you know what? 200 volts, that's not okay. Because if you did that, if you said, this very next step in my journey is not okay, you can't really say that without condemning the ground you're currently standing on. To say that what I just did also was not okay. And so here's the invitation. If we think about this machine, if we think about the extreme of it as being an incorrect belief, no one wakes up and says, you know what, I'm going to believe today that murder is okay. No one does that. And yet, for any incorrect belief, we are all somewhere on that spectrum. We are all somewhere faced with the question of, do I take that next step down or not? And one of the most interesting variations on this experiment, on what would make someone say no, is that one of the biggest things that would make people stop the shocks is if there was someone else there with them. If they had another subject of the experiment who was able to question, who was able to say, wait a minute, is this actually the right thing? I know I just gave 195, but this whole thing, is this right or not? And having someone there to question makes a huge difference. And so as we think of our future selves, as we think about the repentance that we can do going forward, I want to challenge you to embrace intellectual humility. I want to challenge you to find someone who thinks differently than you do. And that's hard. I am just as guilty as anyone of blocking people on Facebook, of saying like, I tell myself it's to keep my blood pressure down, that like, I just can't handle this. And yet those conversations matter. That if we are surrounded by people who think only like us, then we are that much less likely to see when we are currently wrong. Because here's the thing, I am always changing. I'm continually changing. I told you that I started life as a Republican. And then as I got to college, I decided, you know what, that is not who I am. And I embraced the Democratic Party. And then, over time, I came to realize, you know what, not everything in that platform jives with me. And I have moved back toward the center on a number of issues. I ate meat for a long time, and then became vegetarian, and have since started eating meat in small amounts again for a number of reasons. I left that private school because I couldn't handle what I was doing. And I went to public school, and I lasted a total of a month and a half before I realized that I once again was wrong. And I came crawling back to that school, and I said, I'm so sorry for all those horrible things I said about you all. Please take me back. And I am now at that exact same private school where I was before. And the reasons are complicated, but here's the thing. Life is complicated. And I hope that I will continue to be wrong all the time, because the moment I stop being wrong is the moment that I stop growing. And I am so grateful to be here at a church that embraces the open mind, that understands the idea that we have values, we have things that we believe in, that we are willing to go out into the world and proclaim. And at the same time, knowing that that any value that we hold dear is but one step on the journey of the kind of people who we will eventually become.
Thank you, Alex. And now, if you would please rise in body or voice as we join together in our hymn in the gray hymnal, number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. Oh, teal, sorry, teal hymnal, teal, the blue one.
Be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May I be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be
Today's closing words come from Henri Bergson. To exist is to change, and to change is to mature. To mature is to go on creating oneself endlessly.
Thank you, Alex. Now, as we extinguish our chalice this morning, Theo's going to help me again. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth or the warmth of community. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. We don't have any special announcements today. There will be service reflections here in the sanctuary. Reverend Christina has something to say, though, and I'll also just put in a shameless plug for myself. I'm teaching you history today for the new members, if you'd like to join in room 103.
Hello. At the beginning of our congregational year, we celebrate coming back together with a homecoming service, in a sense. And that is next week, where we have our water ceremony. So I invite you, if you have water from the places you might have traveled or been throughout the summer, bring that. If you don't have water, know that we will have a pitcher of water for you to have symbolic water. So start thinking about those places that brought you joy, brought you peace, brought you change and knowledge. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.
So now as our service ends, go now in peace and take peace wherever you go.